Yeah, we had two laptops going here. I think Rena's turned hers off now.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
We should now be live.
Yeah, we had two.
Okay, good morning, everyone. I would like to call the Cook County Board of Commissioners regular meeting to order for Tuesday, October 13th. And we have all our commissioners here, and I will start by reading our statements. But before I do that, I do want to recognize that James Yorkie was with us this morning. And welcome for joining us as our new county administrator. So if you see that green mask and someone behind it, that's James. Welcome, James. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much.
And we'll have a few comments from him later in the program. Not the program, excuse me, in the meeting. Would you please listen to my statements in regards to the COVID-19 pandemic. We're meeting by Zoom today. And I believe we have all the commissioners here, either by phone or by Zoom connected with us. We should be reading these meetings these statements in regards to commissioner meetings in Cook County. And they provide the statutory authority for the type of meeting we're conducting today. And they're by statute as follows. The first statement is, it has been determined that an in-person meeting is not practical or prudent because of the COVID-19 pandemic and the related peacetime emergency declaration made by Governor Walz in accordance with Minnesota Statutes Chapter 12. Second statement, we have ensured that all members of the body participating in the meeting, wherever their physical location, can hear one another and can hear all discussion and testimony offered at today's meeting. Number 3, we've also ensured that members of the public present at the regular meeting location of the body can hear all discussion and testimony and all votes of the members of the body. We have urged the public not to attend this meeting in person because of the COVID-19 pandemic and have ensured that members of the public can view and monitor the meeting remotely in real time by broadcasting the meeting on the Cook County website. Number 4, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we have determined it may be unfeasible for County Auditor Brady Powers, County Attorney Molly Hicken, County Administrator James Yorkie, and members of the Board of Commissioners to be physically present at the County Board meeting at the Cook County Courthouse. 5, all votes will be conducted by roll call, so each member's vote on each issue will be identified and recorded. Would you please join me and stand with the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. At this time, I ask the commissioners if there's any adjustments they'd like to make to the agenda, or from our administrative staff or leadership staff. Are there any suggestions for an adjustment? Okay, hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
This is
So
Commissioner
moved.
Mills. I move to approve the agenda, or second, either way.
Okay, was that, who was the first one to speak?
I did, Jenny.
Okay, we'll go with Commissioner Starley and with the motion, and a second by Commissioner Mills.
David.
So with that, a roll call vote. Commissioner Dukirk,
Aye.
Commissioner Mills,
Aye.
Commissioner Starley,
Aye.
Commissioner Bersheim is aye. Passes unanimously. This is a time for public comment. Do we have anyone at the courthouse room this morning, commissioner's room, to comment? No. Are there any statements that should be read that we've received? None. Very good. Okay, we'll go to the consent agenda items. Is there anyone that would like to pull a certain item? If not, then I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda items as a whole.
This is Commissioner Mills. I'll move to approve the consented agenda.
Okay,
Over.
motion by Commissioner Mills. Do we have support?
Starley, support.
Thank you. Roll call vote. Commissioner Starley,
Aye.
Commissioner Dukirk,
Aye.
Commissioner Mills,
Aye.
Commissioner Bersheim's ayes. We'll go on to the personnel consent agenda. And our item here is to continue an out-of-class appointment for Rena Rogers. And I'll just read the document. The description for this out-of-class appointment would be as transitional county administrator. And this is the purposes of recognizing her work going forward with the rest of the year to assist our county administrator. We'd like to have some discussion and a motion to continue this out-of-class placement. I'll read it. New County Administrator James Yarkey began work October 12th, 2020. However, there will be a transition period until the end of the year where Administrator Yarkey will need to work with Rena Rogers. We request board approval of the continuation of an out-of-class role for Rena Rogers as the transitional county administrator in order to support James Yarkey during the transition from 10/12/20 through 12/31/20. And we'll have the title Transitional County Administrator. And again, this is for the purpose of an out-of-class placement. And it's also mentioned that she would be available to help department heads in this transition as well as other leadership positions. So with that, we'll open it up for discussion and I'll do a roll call on your thoughts on this. Let's start with Commissioner Mills.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I think it's a pretty important thing to have some transitional time, and I know there's a number of things that have been on Rena's plate in her interim administrator role that I think would be beneficial to the organization and our community for her to follow up with and be a part of, and then getting James on board with those, and over these next few months, hopefully we can make that a clean transition. So it seems less of a consent agenda item, but I'm in support of it 100%.
Okay.
Over.
Commissioner Dukirk.
Yeah, I'm not really sure how I feel about it because we've had 3 administrators and none of them had this opportunity. James comes with us highly qualified and able to do the job. So I just don't know if it's necessary to spend this kind of money at this time when we're trying to save money. So I don't know, when we're asking department heads and staff and everyone else to cut expenses and not spend, I just don't know if this would be considered something unnecessary when we all made the decision to hire someone who is qualified to just step in. So that's all I got.
Thank you. Commissioner Starley.
Thank you, Chairman. I think at this point, it would be a good move to be in the transitional position as long as Rena is willing to help out when she can. It doesn't mean she's going to be with him 24/7. There'll be times that she will explain how things are done, and then because he's very qualified, he'll take the reins and he'll go with it. So I think there's a lot to be said for some help when it comes to some of the things that we're facing, especially in this pandemic. So thank you, Rena, for doing this.
Okay, we're having discussed this a little bit with both Administrator Yarkey and Rena Rogers. it seems like both are agreeable to it. The issue of cost came up, and I think for public purpose, I don't have that material information available, but I believe it was rather a minor issue. But Pam Dixon, could you give us the difference in the pay rate?
If memory serves, and Rena might know this too, the difference was minor. It was $1.34 additional per hour.
Okay. Commissioner
Mr. Chair?
Dukirk? Oh, Commissioner Dukirk had her hand up. I'll call on her and then we'll go to you, Commissioner Mills.
So how is this gonna be calculated? Like, is Rena gonna write down every time James asks her a question, or are we just gonna pay this rate for all hours until December?
My understanding would be it would be continued throughout the rest of this year.
That's correct. That's how it's set up right now.
Right. Commissioner Mills?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That was a similar question that I had, and I guess I was under the assumption it was as needed, but is that not? That's not the case. Is that right?
Based on my understanding of the conversation yesterday, that is not the case.
I think that's why it's an out-of-class placement, and I know it has to do with our payroll and how we go about things. So that was my understanding as well. Any other discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I just wanted to say I support the decision. And I think it's because we have this is available to us. And I think if we'd have had the same situation under other administrators, we should have used it then also. We just didn't have the ability to pass that information on to give the new person a good start. As long as we have that ability, I think it's a good move. Thanks.
Thank you, Auditor Powers. I do agree with your statement as well. This is an opportunity to make this as seamless as possible, but still having the trust and an authority designated to James Yarkey to be our administrator. I think it was brought up in a meeting as well that, and it was Brady Powers that brought this up, but I think I heard it from others as well, is that a lot of memos and so forth the department heads would write to both of them so that they would have help with this transition. So it wouldn't be just an hour here, an hour there. There could be a routine part of the assignment that was designated to be transitional.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Commissioner Mills?
Thank you. So to Commissioner Dukirk's point, with consideration of costs, just so that everyone is aware, approximately how many hours left are left in the year? Over.
Okay, someone got a calculator? I don't have one handy.
Less than 500 hours. It's less than $1,000 cost.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Yeah, and I guess I want to be sensitive to us trying to, especially in the uncertainty that we're facing, to be pretty scrupulous. But I think that cost is money well spent in the name of some stability and a smooth transition. Over.
I would just like to make one more comment too, that this is even a little bit more critical dealing with the COVID pandemic issues. There's a lot of sensitivities here that have been local, and I have all the confidence in James Yarkey that he, will learn all those things. But this is not a typical transitional situation as well. And there's a lot of the operations, especially that we've developed for public safety and for staff that are a consideration in this process. And I think it would be important to have Rena Rogers involved in that on an ongoing basis. But here again, the authority would be with our new administrator to be official. It would not usurp any of that authority at all. Are we ready for a motion or more discussion?
I'll make a motion.
Okay. As-
Motion to continue the out-of-class appointment of Rena Rogers in assisting James Yorkie until the end of December.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Starley. Do we have support?
Commissioner Mills, I'll support. And
Okay.
just for clarity, it's a transitional role versus an interim role. So
Correct.
Right.
Yep.
Okay, roll call vote. Commissioner Starley,
Aye.
Commissioner Mills,
aye.
Commissioner Dukirk,
Aye.
Commissioner Bersheim's aye, passes unanimously. Thank you. Okay, we'll go on to item 5, recognition of Indigenous Peoples Day. I would like to read this proclamation, and as board chair, I would like to make some comments about that afterwards, and I'd certainly welcome comments from the other commissioners at that time. Excuse me. This was adopted October 12th, 2015. Whereas Cook County, Minnesota recognizes that the Indigenous peoples of the lands that would later become known as the Americas have occupied these lands since time immemorial. And whereas Cook County, Minnesota recognizes that Cook County is built upon and shares the homelands and villages of the Indigenous peoples of this region, without whose knowledge, labor, technology, science, philosophy, arts, and deep cultural contribution, the building of the county and the county's character would not have been possible. And whereas Cook County has a responsibility to oppose the systemic racism and misunderstanding towards Indigenous peoples in the United States, which perpetuates poverty and income inequality and erodes access to health, education, and stability. And whereas Indigenous Peoples Day was first proposed in 1977 by a delegation of Native nations to the United Nations sponsored International Conference on Discrimination Against Indigenous Populations in America. Now therefore be it resolved that the Cook County, Minnesota Board does hereby proclaim the following. Indigenous Peoples Day shall be an opportunity to celebrate the thriving cultures and positive values of the Indigenous peoples of our region. Indigenous Peoples Day shall be used to reflect upon the ongoing struggles of Indigenous people and to celebrate the thriving culture and value that Indigenous nations add to our county. The second Monday in October shall be recognized exclusively as Indigenous Peoples Day in Cook County. Just like to comment too that I think because of some of this work in 2015 and some of the other issues that have been going on, the Joint Powers Group had met earlier at the end of September. And at that time, we felt we should reflect on racism in the county as well as land acknowledgement. A work group was established. We met 4 times. Commissioner Dukirk and I have served on that work group. And we've gone through a process of trying to develop a draft for consideration at an October 28th Joint Powers meeting that would have a statement on land acknowledgement. And so it would be going beyond just recognizing this once a year or in a month. We would have some ongoing statements that hopefully other members of the Joint Powers Group would have at meetings or at public events or in some of their produced materials. So that's been very productive. We've had some help from some people from higher ed with that as well. And so we hopefully will build this a little bit more into our culture and how we recognize the importance of our relationship, not only to Grand Portage, but to the history of our land. So with that, I would like to just open it up for any comments that any of the other commissioners would want to make at this time. Would you just sort of raise your hand, or Commissioner Mills, please state so, or as well as Commissioner Storley? Okay.
Yes,
Mr. Chair,
Yes, go ahead.
everyone at once here. Yeah, I want to thank both Commissioner Dukirk and yourself, Mr. Chair, for your work on that task force. I think it's a wonderful endeavor, and I just want to remind everyone, the public as well as us commissioners and staff, that we do have another Joint Powers meeting scheduled on October 27th at 5:30. I believe it was to recap where the task force has been and what the next steps will be going forward. But thank you for working on that. Over.
Thank you for the correction. It's the 27th of October, I believe.
Commissioner Bershheim?
Yes, Commissioner Storley.
I just reflect back until 2015 and all the debating and discussion we had about this and how this really brought the community together at that time, and think that that was 5 years ago. And where we are now, it's really heartwarming that we have recognized the need to come together, even though we had a lapse in those 5 years. But that's what it takes to bring a topic forward and for people together to work on proceeding with hopefully a positive outcome.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay, we'll go on to Emergency Operations Command update. I see Grace is with us and Mike. And Grace, do you want to start as usual, or Mike, whoever would like to give us an update at this time?
Sure, I don't mind starting. So since I last gave an update on September 22nd, the number of COVID-19 cases in the state of Minnesota rose by 22,497 from 90,942 to 113,439. In that same time period in Cook County, our cases have increased from 6 to 10, and this remains the lowest county case count throughout the state. Updates from the Emergency Operations Center and our response in that time period. We continue to move forward with the logistical details of partnering with Grand Portage and Lake County to collaborate on case investigation and contact tracing as a mini region. This partnership aims to build our collective capacity to quickly initiate high-quality case investigation contact tracing, strengthening our existing partnerships with both Lake County and Grand Portage, and also providing better backup staffing for evenings, weekends, and times when individual investigators might be out for one reason or another. We did complete case investigation contact tracing for our additional cases, including one school-linked case. We worked together with Megan Myers, who was acting as the COVID-19 coordinator for ISD 166, as well as with Sawtooth Mountain Clinic and North Shore Health to facilitate both contact tracing and also follow-up testing for all contacts associated with that school-linked case. Also with the schools, we continue to work with all 4 area schools through our weekly briefings on COVID-19. reviewing safety plans and implementation of safety plans for both school day and extracurricular activities, including sports and sport competitions. We also communicate with our school partners relevant public health updates and field questions regularly on best practices during the pandemic. Jody Turvo-Roberts, in her role as the school liaison for public health and human services, is also serving on the ISD 166 incident command team. We are working on getting out key messages to the community that have risen in importance this past month. Staying home when you're sick, even very mildly sick, is important. I know this has been a key message throughout, but we see cases present with such mild symptoms that they often don't, they don't seem to rise to that level. People question whether it's appropriate to stay home, and our message together with our healthcare partners is really, even mildly sick, even questioning whether you're sick, you should be staying home. So we're trying to elevate that messaging across the community. It's both masking and social distancing. We're finding community-wide that with the increase in mask use, which is wonderful, people are letting their guard down a bit with social distancing. So that message of both and is really important right now for the community to hear. This is something I'll be bringing up at our local emergency preparedness committee this afternoon, but messaging on Halloween safety. The CDC put out an excellent guide to Halloween safety during COVID, which I'll include in my notes to you all. But I think this afternoon we're going to be working on how to make sure that that message is really present throughout the community as the holiday approaches for those who celebrate. Right now, the recommendation is to get tested for COVID 7 days after you're exposed as a close contact, but to continue to quarantine for a full 14 days, which is confusing messaging. So we're really trying to work with our healthcare partners on that one as well. If someone is a close contact, tests negative for COVID, they still have to complete the 14-day quarantine. So that's another key message that we're trying to really elevate throughout the community. And those are our kind of key messages that we're trying to work on, both within the Emergency Operations Center and in collaboration with some of our key partners. Yesterday at the Community Health Board, Grace Bouchard, Allison McIntyre, and Andrea Orist gave an excellent presentation on our behavioral health response to COVID-19, focusing on the community support line and the peer support groups for childbearing families, which began about 2.5 weeks ago and have been very well received. This week, we are taking as a chance to reflect on our response to COVID so far within the EOC, which includes a couple of different things. I'm sure Mike will speak more about this, but there's a planner from the Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Management named Blaine, who will be facilitating what he calls a mid-incident after action report. So it's really getting the members of the EOC together to talk about our response to date and help us hone in on things that we could improve going forward. We're also, Allison helped me put together a revised org chart for the EOC that includes some of our newer public health staff. And we're going to be talking about that as well within the EOC this week. We're also looking at communications within the EOC and the role of the PIO as it relates to more general messaging throughout the community. We're also working with Sawtooth Mountain Clinic to distribute a handout that talks more about how to access testing locally, including information about cost. Insurance should cover the cost of COVID testing, and if a person is at all concerned or is underinsured or uninsured, the clinic does have grant funding. So testing for COVID should be free throughout the community, and that's a message we want to make sure gets out there. So this is a project that will be distributing the handouts to families of school-age children, along with thermometers, instructions on how to do screenings for children, and a letter to parents, emphasizing the importance of routine preventative care throughout the pandemic and keeping up with vaccination for children. And that is the thermometers. That's a grant-funded project through an existing grant we had through the Community Health Board. Finally, I am working with Brady Powers on recording a presentation for election judges on safety throughout on election day, safety for our election judges as people exercise their right to vote. So that's something I will be recording today. And those are my updates.
Okay. Any questions or comments? I guess I can only see Commissioner Dukirk, so I'll do a quick roll call. Commissioner Dukirk, any comments or questions?
None, she covered everything. Thanks, Grace.
Yeah. Commissioner Storley?
Thank you. Yes, thank you, Grace. I'm not aware of a 10th case. I guess I was back at 9, so we've had a 10th one now recently.
We had a 10th one just yesterday. And that we had it go up on the hub site, and I think that's the only way it's gone out so far. I know the radio station picked up on it as well. So we had a 10th case, a female in her 20s.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Commissioner Mills?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Grace. I don't have any questions. Over.
Very good. Well, thank you for your update, Grace, and all the work that you're doing. We'll go to Mike Keyport, our Emergency Management Director, for your update at this time. Thanks for joining us.
You bet. Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners, community members. From the emergency management side of things, our Emergency Operations Center continues to be operational both at the community center and virtually. I continue to meet with the state, with my state partners on a bi-weekly, every other week. Regionally, we have been meeting bi-weekly. On our meeting last Thursday, we decided to regionally meet every week again, due to the fact that many of the counties in our 11 county region are getting quite an uptick in cases, and the reason, one of the main reasons we meet is we do use each other's, what the best practices that we're doing in our county to share with the other counties, just to help each other out rather than recreating the wheel, if you will. There are concerns about, including myself, about the upcoming school holiday, the MEA weekend, which is this coming Thursday, Friday, and then of course Saturday and Sunday. Other counties in the region, as like us, it does bring more people being out and about, so there is concerns about that. And then with the upcoming holidays in November and December, so I'll continue to meet more often with the region at this time. As Grace mentioned, we are tomorrow having our mid-event after action report review. It's just a way to have an outside person. Blaine is our regional planner, and it's just a way for us to look back. It's been 7 months. If we wait much longer, we start forgetting what we did and how things work. But that's the idea behind it, to see what worked well and maybe what did not work well, and how we're doing now, and what we want to see down the road in the future as this pandemic carries on. What will happen, it'll produce a document that not only you as elected officials can review, but most importantly for public health and emergency management, something that we can use in the future. Should we get another pandemic or something similar, that we'll have good plans in place and remember what we did, and lessons learned, if you will. So it'll be a good document. Looking forward to tomorrow, to working through that process. If you remember, back in July, we obtained 2 55-gallon barrels of hand sanitizer, which we distributed to the local businesses and nonprofits. We have obtained another 55-gallon drum. I did reach out to Jim Boyd at the Cook County Chamber of Commerce to see if there would be interest in a smaller quantity, and he got quite a response. So next week we'll be distributing to businesses. It'll only be 1 gallon of hand sanitizer, but they were very willing to take the gallon, and that's a little is better than nothing, I guess. Also on the hand sanitizer front, FEMA reached out to the state that they have been contacted by a company that's willing to donate quite a large quantity of hand sanitizer. This is a little different. It would be a pallet of hand sanitizer that's pre-bottled in 20-ounce bottles, and you can only get a minimum of a pallet, which equates to about 1,200 20-ounce bottles. So it's a little more user-friendly, if you will, rather than Jim and I pumping it out of the curling arena. So more to come on that.
Mike, excuse me, if I could just interrupt, I'd like to, I'm picking up some feedback audio. So for those of you that are connected here, would you please mute your microphone? We're picking up some kind of conversation that's at least is interfering with my ability to hear our emergency management director clearly.
Yep.
Myron, it's not from any of us. It's from his coworkers in his office.
Right.
And I did try to email them and let them know we can hear them.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you for doing that. Okay, well then please continue. I think it has stopped.
Just one more thing. I'm going to bring forward to the at our EOC briefing this Thursday the possibility of purchasing a electronic message sign. I think it'd be useful for the duration of this pandemic for general messaging that we could put outside of town on the county line, maybe. For general messages, for instance, we could put, please remember to stay 1 moose apart, if you will. I believe the schools or the hospital would have a use for this type of a piece of equipment. The hospital did have a very good response to their flu shot procedures here a few weeks back, which made for a lot of traffic on County Road 7. I think it could be used for something like that. With a piece of equipment like that does come, of course, training and maintenance and storage and who's going to take care of it. So I would be reaching out to our county engineer with guidance on that. But I think it's a piece of equipment that may be quite useful for the duration of this event, and I'll be looking for your support on that. So that's what I have for you today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Any questions or comments? We'll start with Commissioner Dukirk.
Thank you, Mike, for the work in the hand sanitizer tracking down. I know you've got Jim on board for a little bit longer. I have had some phone calls and some concerns with your ability to cover everything, which is impossible, but how is it looking for your other duties besides COVID? Are you able to meet all of those demands, and are you getting any time off?
I'm not getting a lot of time off, Heidi. I am doing okay due to the fact that the E91 system, the signage, believe it or not, we've created here just short of 80 911 signs this year, which is time consuming, but that kind of winds down this time of the year. So as we near the end of the year, I'll kind of evaluate whether we need Jim a little longer or not. But right now I'm holding in there, and I am hoping to take Thursday and Friday off.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Mills?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mike, for the update, and I greatly appreciate hearing the regional goings-ons as well. It gives us some perspective of where we're at and where everyone else is at, and just lots to learn there. And I also appreciate hearing about kind of the scaling back, you know, going to the every other week, and then now going back to the every week. It's important for us to see the flexibility in the operations and the plans. So thank you for all that and your continued work. I don't think I have any questions. Oh, is it just the one pallet then that the donations are being offered?
Yes, well, they in the email, they kind of said, you know, kind of be polite and don't be greedy. So I did submit for the one pallet, yes.
Thank you. Yeah, that's good not to be greedy, yeah. Okay, that was all. Over.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mike, for all you do, and I'm glad you get a little time off this next Thursday and Friday. Appreciate your work. We'll move to Assessor.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah, go ahead.
I didn't know if Commissioner Storley had any questions.
I'm sorry, I missed you, Commissioner Storley. I apologize.
Oh, I would just butt in, you know that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mike, as always. I like the idea of the individual hand sanitizers. However, I don't know, you know, with the other quantity coming, if that will be possible, but if it is, I certainly would suggest you look into it, because it would, as you say, save a lot of time of pumping for your time factor. So anyway, thanks for your report, Mike.
Okay, we'll move on to Bob Thompson. You submitted some material on the assessor reappointment, and thank you for doing that. And I think in that regard, we would more than likely do an oath later on before the beginning of the year. I know that was a question that came up too. So would you like to add anything? We do need to appoint our assessor formally, and so that's why this is on the agenda today.
Myron, I think number 7, the curling center lease is next.
Thank you. Wow, I missed that, so we'll go back to that. Thank you. We'll go to community center, and I believe Diane Booth is with us. Sorry, I missed you there.
Good morning, everybody. That's okay. I was just kind of going, okay, maybe I'm later on, and you switched it and I didn't hear it. So either way would have worked. So yeah, I did submit, we've been spending quite a bit of time with the curling club talking about, you know, possibilities. We've been a little bit worried, of course, about COVID-19, as are the members. And so they have a club of about 70 people. About 35 or about half of them would like to curl. Obviously, no outside visitors, no bonspiels. We would have to spread the groups out over probably a few more time periods to make sure things are being done safely, no food, that type of thing. And so they came up with a proposal to the Community Center Board of Trustees about, instead of a 5.5-month lease, maybe a 3-month lease agreement, and on a weekly basis. The normal cost on a weekly basis based upon their current lease agreement would be about $625 a month. They're thinking $375 because they have only half of their members who are thinking about curling. And we really thought long and hard about this. You know, I'm being a stickler here about not having more than 10 people meet here, have to wear masks, have to social distance, all those kinds of things. But we talked about midwinter. We talked about if there's a way to do this in a safe manner, it would give an outlet for people safely rather than maybe doing something less safely. So we put together, I talked to Molly. Molly reviewed the lease agreement. The changes that you have are highlighted in yellow. We would look at it as a weekly lease with the idea that if COVID-19 wraps up and we need the curling rink for something else, hopefully not, then they would be done basically with 1 week's notice on either side. So that is what we've brought to you. I just need a formal okay from you. I need you to vote on it so that we can move forward or not.
Okay.
Questions?
Thank you, Diane. So we'll just see if there's any questions or comments. We'll start with Commissioner Storley.
Thank you, Chairman. I think this is very reasonable in looking over what they've agreed to and what the community center will do and what the board recommends. They probably will need at some time some type of get together to pursue their curling abilities. And so I think with all due respect to the community board and to the club, week by week sounds good, or something that would be agreeable as it's written here would be my support.
Okay. Commissioner Dukirk.
Oh, I probably have a billion questions and concerns, but I trust Diane and the Board of Trustees, and I know that they've gone through it and worked with the county attorney. So I know she's being careful, and I know she understands the risks and how many people she has. She's still managing her kitchen during all of this. And so, Diane, I know you hear it from me, but here you go again. You are amazing. Thank you for all that you do. Thank you for keeping the community center open and having ability for people to gather and meet and participate, having the playground and the gardens and everything that you do. I can't imagine what it's been like for you for the last year, but thank you for not quitting when you could so easily retire at this stage. Just thank you.
Well,
Well said.
everybody works together. That's what makes it work.
Well said. Thank you, Commissioner Dukirk. Commissioner Mills.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Diane, for bringing this. And yeah, I've been privy to the conversations, and I feel like they've been very good and thoughtful. And you know, part of the considerations is our community's cultural history with curling and northern Minnesota as well, and just some of the challenges that are being faced, and how the international bonspiels won't be possible, and just what can be done, and you know, hoping to really keep the club as strong as possible, and recognizing its importance in our community. So I think this is a great way to give a little and get a little. And you know, the curling club is a very significant renter to the community center and income source, and so there could be alternatives that aren't so agreeable, and I think this is a good way to move forward there. Over.
Okay. I would like to just agree with everyone's comments so far. And again, thanks so much, Diane, for all you do and for the teamwork that you build to make it all happen. With that, I would entertain a motion. I guess, Diane, do you have one other comment? I saw. Okay. All right. I would entertain a motion then to approve this new agreement, lease agreement.
So moved, Commissioner Dukirk.
Thank you. And support?
This is Commissioner Mills. I'll second. Over.
Very good. Thank you, Commissioner Mills. So we have a motion and support. Roll call vote. Commissioner Dukirk.
Aye.
Commissioner Storley.
Aye.
Commissioner Mills.
Aye.
Commissioner Bersheim is aye. Passes unanimously. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Again, Diane. Now we'll go on to the assessor. As I mentioned before, we have a assessor reappointment, and we received information that this reappointment is for 4 years. And it will be done automatically if we don't take action, but I think we should. At some point in time before the end of the year, if we approve this resolution today that's been proposed to us, to have a 4-year appointment of the commissioner, for our assessor, we would conduct that at a later meeting. So Bob, do you have anything else to share on that? You have a resolution that you would like us to support today?
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. I don't have any additional input. We do have the resolution there that was drafted by Molly and I, and it should satisfy what the Department of Revenue is requiring. I know the interpretation of automatic apparently is a little bit different by them. I've had discussions with other assessors, and I did see a email from Molly to the Department of Revenue, and the response was that they do prefer to see a resolution, and then they do want to see that the oath has been taken again prior to January 1st. So,
okay, very good. So are there any questions about that? This seems straightforward. Then I would entertain a motion to approve that resolution.
This is Commissioner Mills. I'll move to approve the reappointment resolution.
Thank you, Commissioner Mills. Support?
Storley, support.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Storley. Roll call vote. Commissioner Dukirk,
Aye.
Commissioner Mills,
Aye.
Commissioner Storley,
Aye.
Commissioner Bersheim's aye. Passes unanimously, and thank you, Bob, for all your work as our assessor, and really appreciate what you've done for us and going forward. We have confidence that you'll continue.
yep. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thanks, Commissioners. I'll look forward to seeing you at one of the future meetings and taking that oath again.
Okay.
All right.
Now we'll go to land services for the vacation rental services renewal. We have Tim Nelson with us that'll make this presentation. It's to renew the services provided by Host Compliance for the monitoring and servicing of the vacation rental licenses within Cook County at the rate of $23,405. And to keep that rental fee at $200 per vacation rental. Tim, thank you for joining
Mr. Chair.
us.
Good morning, Commissioners. This is a continuation. As you well know, we did pass the program, the vacation rental licensing program last summer, which took effect and started this January. It's been kind of a year of uncertainty for vacation rentals, but ultimately it did end up picking up quite a bit. We do have a lot of licenses in the hopper, and we did have a lot of operations that were hemming and hawing, didn't know if they were going to get their licenses or not. We did contract on an annual basis with Host Compliance. The ordinance that we drafted, if you recall, was for a period of 3 years. So we're going to go through the 3-year period and go through a complete review of the licensing program to see, if we need to make any changes, adjustments, or whatever to continue the program out. But our contract with Host Compliance is on an annual basis. And I had already been to the board, but I think it was last month or so, to keep the fee at $200 for the vacation rental license. That has worked out very well for us. Host Compliance, the relationship that we have for them has worked out very well. When we went through the bidding process and got the proposals in, there wasn't any other services out there that really matched Host Compliance's experience and their affordability in terms of what it would cost for them to provide the services to us. And so, yes, it is my recommendation to go ahead and continue this service again for another year. And we'll state that the licensing fees that we were collecting in has definitely been adequate to go ahead and cover all of the costs. So none of the costs of the vacation rental licensing program is borne upon the General Revenue Tax Fund. So at this point, it has been self-funded.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions or comments? We'll start with Commissioner Storley.
Thank you, Chairman. So Tim, could you refresh my memory on how many rentals so far that we are collecting $200 from?
Yes, Commissioner Storley, Mr. Chair, we're at about 150, between 150 and 170. There's some that we have kind of an ongoing evaluation of, you know, do they actually need it? We go back and forth. We're working with the Minnesota Department of Health as they also require a license, and it's part of our requirement to have a license that each of the operations have their license from the state of Minnesota as well. I plan to come back a little later this fall as we reach towards the end of the season to come back with a full report on the activity for the year, to go through all of the numbers and show exactly how it went. Like I said, it has been a year of kind of uncertainty for folks. But yeah, we're right between the 150 to 170. There are more out there that we do know we need to reach, but we haven't been really aggressive with the enforcement at this time, just knowing that it has been a year of uncertainty. But over the course of this fall and into the winter, we will be reaching out and casting that net to get folks into the hopper as well.
Thank you.
Commissioner Mills?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Tim. Yeah, I was going to ask a little bit about enforcement, if there's been any issues there. And I mean, I guess my question was more in line with for the licenses that have been issued, how has that dynamic gone as far as between host compliance and enforcement? And then, but what it sounds like more is, and the more of the enforcement is maybe steered towards people not getting licenses. Is that kind of by and large what's going on, versus someone with a license having some issue?
You know, it seems over the course of this year, Commissioner Mills and Mr. Chair, the level at which we're working with people, it seems like folks are a lot more open and willing to work with us in terms of getting their licenses, as we kind of anticipated coming into this. There was a lot of resistance towards the licensing program, but once it started, we did have a lot of compliance. It seems like most of the work that we're doing, and the people who there are a lot of people who are contacting us, even through the 24/7 hotline that we have set up through host compliance. People will call in to inquire as to whether they need a license or not. So we've had a combination of people calling to ask if other people needed a license because they thought that they were running a rental, but they were also having people call into that particular hotline to see if they need a license or not as well. So I would say that as far as enforcement goes, once we get in contact with an owner or operator of a property and a vacation rental, that level of cooperation has actually been fairly good. And we have not had a lot of enforcement or have had to take enforcement. For us, it's trying to ride that fence, and people in their uncertainty as to whether or not, yes, they want to do the rental. They're not sure if there's enough activity for them to come in and fully get that license or not. So that's what we want to weed out and get those folks in. And we're trying to just convince people to go ahead, get the license. It's only $200, and then they're covered, whether they want to do it or not. They don't have to rent that many times to be able to make up that cost. And so then they would be covered in case they wanted to increase their activity.
Okay. Commissioner DeKirk?
Well, Tim, sounds like an opportunity for another update on WTIP and community concern corner in the News Herald about vacation rentals. I happened to see on social media a week or so ago that the county did not pass its ordinance on vacation rentals and was having everything on hold and not supervising or monitoring any vacation rentals in Cook County. So I thought that was quite amusing. So just one more opportunity. I'm sure Joe is listening at WTIP and will contact you or me and want to do a wonderful little update on this. It's a good thing during COVID to keep it going and keep track a little bit of what's going on. So thank you for your work, and I support this.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Tim. So we're ready, I think, for a motion to approve the renewal of the services with host compliance.
So moved, Commissioner Dukirk.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Dukirk. Support?
This is Commissioner Mills. I'll second.
Commissioner Mills, thank you for your support. Roll call vote. Commissioner Dukirk.
Aye.
Commissioner Mills.
Aye.
Commissioner Storley.
Aye.
Commissioner Bersheim's aye. Passes unanimously. Thank you, Tim.
Thank
We
you.
will look forward to an update later on about the state of affairs for vacation rentals and hopefully some public comment on that as well for statements. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, we'll turn it over to our auditor at this time, Brady Powers, for any updates that you have for us. We didn't have anything in the agenda item, but I'm calling you at this time.
Mr. Chair, there was one item added after the fact, so it's on the new agenda that's out there, but
Oh,
not to the
thank
one
you.
that
Okay.
people got originally. This is regarding our fiscal policy. We
Oh, thank you.
approved
Yeah.
fiscal policy earlier this year, and part of that revision was to set a goal of 75% for our fund balance. But there was some question, some confusion over what would happen if we did choose to use some of that fund balance. So this is just a revision to clarify that. And what it says now is that if the board chooses to use fund balance, which would bring the fund balance below that 75% goal, that then you would have a public acknowledgement of that and put in place a plan to get that fund balance back up to at least the 75% level. But that if the fund balance level is significantly above 75%, so that any use of it does not bring it below 75%, then you're not under any requirement to immediately come up with a plan to restore it to where it was, as long as it remains above 75%. I think that's the basis of the clarification.
Okay, thank you. And the recommendation to us is to approve the revision to this section as explained. And we'll just ask for any questions or comments at this time that you would have for Brady on this fiscal policy revisions. We'll start with Commissioner Mills.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Brady. You know, it looks like item F is the main revision here, but I'm going down to, and I think that's a great revision. Going down to item G, can we walk through that a little bit, if that's okay? The county goal is a general fund unassigned fund balance is 75% of current expenses, a highway fund assigned balance of 60% of current expenses, and a PHHS assigned fund balance of 40% of current expenses. Can we talk a little bit about where those 60-40% numbers come from and are recommended?
Commissioner Mills, yeah, this part, it's in what you're probably seeing, it's underlined, but we didn't revise this at this time. We approved this earlier this year. The only revision is in that letter F.
F, yeah.
We could still talk about that, but the 60% and the 40%, the difference there is that 50 is the general recommendation by the state auditors, and highway department tends to have one-time large payments that need to be funded, when projects are completed. And so it seemed wise to have a little higher fund balance there so that they don't need to borrow from other funds to make those payments when they come due. And Human Services is just pretty much the opposite. They're pretty steadily funded by state funds. They need that funding, but they don't get the one-time use and don't seem to need that level of fund balance to operate. And I should go back and say the state recommendation is between 35 and 50. So this falls within that state realm. And of course, this is always up for review if public health is determines that they're struggling at times to have enough in their fund balance to make payments. Of course, we'd come back and look at revising that. Same with highway department.
Yep, thank you very much. I realize F is the item we're revising or potentially approving for a revision, but I just wanted to keep item G in everyone's minds here with those numbers too. But thank you very much.
Yeah, and I think I sent this out with the earlier revisions underlined and not having taken those edit lines out of there to give the impression that it's still not approved. I'll make that correction today.
Thank you. Commissioner Dukirk?
No questions.
Okay. Commissioner Starley?
Thank you. No questions.
Okay. Then we'll entertain a motion to adopt or approve Section F revision as presented to us for our fiscal policy.
This is
Motion to approve.
Okay, I think Commissioner Mills got a little head start, so we'll give.
Okay, we'll give him credit.
Thank you, and then Commissioner Starley, you'll get the second.
Thank you.
Okay, and we'll do a roll call vote on that. Commissioner Dukirk?
Aye.
Commissioner Mills?
Aye.
Commissioner Starley?
Aye.
Commissioner Bersheim? Aye. Passes unanimously. Thank you, Brady, for all your work. Any other updates you have for us?
Not at the moment, except this will be one of the topics of conversation with Standard & Poor's. We're doing the rating call for our bond refunding at 2:00 today. They'll be very interested in this provision.
Okay, good. It might be very helpful.
It's a positive.
Yes. Okay, we'll move on to administrator updates. And today I'm going to turn it over as board chair to James Yarkey, our new administrator, for any comments that you may have for us. And thank you again so much for accepting this position and working with us. And you've set high expectations for yourself, and we appreciate that. You've done very well through the process of selection and have a lot of confidence in you. So thank you. And I'll turn it over to you for any comments you may have at this time. Oh, mute.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, thank you, Chairman Bersheim and commissioners. I am so grateful for the opportunity to serve as your next county administrator. I know I said in my interviews, when I was looking for this kind of position, I was looking for a job. And when I learned about this opportunity in Cook County, I realized I was looking for this job. This is such an exceptional community and an exceptional organization. The people I've met so far have been so welcoming. And I'm thrilled to be joining such a high-performing organization. We have lots of great work to do together. And I've already dived in feet first, meeting people, and my calendar is crazy. Thank you, April Zimmer, for getting meetings organized. I'm well into the process of meeting both county staff and community leaders, and look forward to making those connections. and to exploring opportunities for all of us to collaborate on making this place that we call home a better place for all of us. I want to recognize a few people who've been particularly helpful. Rena Rogers has been very generous with her time. So far, we've been having Zoom meetings the last few weeks to start getting me up to speed on some of the issues that are on the front burner right now. And she's been very helpful in kind of educating me about what those issues are and what some of the opportunities are moving forward. I also want to thank Pamela Dixon and April Zimmer, who've been very helpful in getting me oriented and getting all the pieces in place so that I can hit the ground running. I'm just very excited to be here and can't wait to start working with all of you. So thanks so much for this opportunity. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Look forward to working with you, and I'm sure the community will as well. Okay, so we're at a point in time where, are there some flowers that we could show in the commissioner's room? And we had some flowers delivered to Rena Rogers yesterday, and I'm just wondering if the public could see those, or if not, that's fine.
Unfortunately, Mr. Chairman, we don't have those here, but Rena did say that she received them and wanted to say thanks for those.
Okay, very good. Well, I'd like to take the opportunity as board chair to make some comments to you, Rena, and to the public and to the other board members. And certainly I'll give the opportunity to other board members to make some comments as well. But I think this is an appropriate time to express our appreciation. And in these uncertain times, it's transitions are difficult enough the way it is. But boy, this is quite something we've gotten into. One of the things that really I've noticed, I'm a sort of a student of leadership, have been in my career. And one of the things that's been a gift to us is, number one, who you are, but your background and training and your IT director, just what a fit this was for us. Because what happened with this pandemic was you were far more prepared to provide the infrastructure and the means for us to go to this work situation. And I know that you've talked, and we've talked a lot over this past year about project management. And those things have really, I think, have been exemplified in your work as an ideal person to have in this position. And one of the things that I really think is important for project engineers is to be, number one, a great leader, but also have some skill sets that I would like to just comment on as well. One of the things that I've noticed is that you set visions. You try to inspire others in your work, and not just to tell them what to do. And sometimes we have to do that. We have to tell people what to do, but I think that's been part of your style that I've really appreciated. And I think that's had an effect. People have been inspired to do the best you can under these conditions. I know that you've had to deal with conflicts, and I think you've tried to resolve those conflicts with a win-win scenarios. If people could come away from it with some kind of part in it that makes a difference for them. And that's been difficult in this pandemic. I know of situations that have been very difficult, but I think you've really tried to do that. One thing I've really noticed in some of the projects that you've done is your cost management skills are really good. And that's important as a project manager. Also, as well as risk management. Risk management has just been so critical during this COVID-19. That's what it's about, folks. And I think you've made some decisions and convinced us others to do things that are best for our public health, for our staff, and for our community. One of the things that I think is critical in these times, obviously, is communications. And I think you've been open and using a variety of levels, but your expertise in And technology has really been helpful for us to go here again to at work at home kind of situation for many of our people. Really required to have a lot of communication in various ways. And that's been good. You've been a coach. You have great task management skills, just taking on some of the issues, some of the projects that you've done with the Y, with the Hoagland Garage, with the courthouse, with the law enforcement center and the windows. You've completed some projects in a timely and cost-effective way. And one of the last things I'd like to share with you, I think, is that something I wish that I had more of, but you've had a good sense of humor through it all. And sometimes that's been very helpful. And it sort of eases that tension. And so thank you so much for what you've done. You've done a remarkable job, and I think you're a remarkable person for how you've done it. And so as board chair and as a student of leadership and also of project management, what a gift you've given to us. And so happy that you're willing to work with us again and help us with this transition. So with that, I would just like to open it up for any comments from other commissioners at this time, and I'll do it by roll call. Commissioner Mills?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I guess my comments aren't probably quite as thoughtful as what you just gave. I thought you said everything very well there. But I just want to thank Rena. Nobody knew what was in store for her, and we all agreed that we needed her to help if she was willing, and boy did she ever. And there was some low-hanging fruit that she recognized and went after, and then there was other things that weren't so easy that she was not afraid to go after as well. And I appreciate that, and all the while balancing her role and the public's need and also her role as school board member on top of all of that too. So I know that her time in the interim position has changed her and her perspective, and I hope it has been fulfilling for her, and I hope that the transition goes well, and I trust that it will. But greatly appreciate all that she has done and is willing to do for us in the future here. So thank you very much, Rena.
Commissioner Dukirk?
What more can you say? How about a picture of those flowers?
Oh, there you go. Thank you. Thank you. Commissioner Dukirk has always got something that we can share with us. That's good. That was very nice. Commissioner Storley?
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, a bouquet of flowers are a small token of appreciation for what you stepped into a year ago. Who knew? And you've brought us along with all of the ups and downs, and we're better people for it. And you will be certainly around and about, and we'll still have our comments, and we'll certainly be willing to step up if there's another need that you see. But last of all, just in appreciation for everything you've done.
Okay. With that,
if I could.
sure, I was looking for you, but thank you.
We have to take turns who has the volume up.
Okay.
Can you turn the volume down?
I thought it was, I'm sorry.
It's on the top. It's up here. It's up here.
No.
There we go. Sorry. Okay. Technology. You still got sound over there.
Here we go. Sorry. I turned it off. Okay.
So, I just want to say thanks for the support that you all have shown me and the opportunity. It's not every day you get the opportunity to try and do a job like this. And it was great. Actually, I really enjoyed it. Definitely there were some challenging days, but I actually really enjoyed the opportunity, enjoyed the relationships that I had never gotten to have in this community before, with the business community and the medical community as we worked through a lot of COVID things. And, so just thank you for your kind words and thank you for these last couple months.
Thank you.
I'll be here for a while yet, I think.
Okay,
No, that's all right.
for any meeting updates, I don't have any meetings to note. We have Truth and Taxation scheduled for December 1st. Anything that else that commissioners want to share as far as updates, meetings to note? Just let me know. Okay, then we'll go on to October anniversaries, and Commissioner Dutkirk, again, thank you for all you do with this, and I'd ask you to recognize these people at this time.
All right, so we will move one on the list only because it's a big one. So we will start with Pat Strand. Thank you for 32 years with the county. You've gone through a lot of changes in public health and changes in your position and role. And I know that the veterans really appreciate you. So thank you for 32 wonderful years. We have Heidi Atkins in public health, 4 years. Stacy Hawkins in our auditor office for 3 years. Anita Josiah, public health and human services for 3 years. Mike Running, 3 years in the sheriff's department. Agni Smith, 4 years in public health and human services. Katie Smith, 4 years in public health and human services. And Bob Thompson kind of got a present today for his 4-year anniversary. We are going to continue to keep you as long as we can. Happy 4th anniversary. And Ellis Walsh, 4 years in public health and human services. Thank you all for the work that you do.
Okay. And we had an EDA board packet in our board packet agenda package, and I think at this time we can adjourn. So I'd entertain a motion to adjourn unless there's something else that someone needs to bring up.
Commissioner Mills, motion to adjourn.
Okay, support.
Starley, support.
Thank you. Roll call vote. Commissioner Starley,
Aye.
Commissioner Mills,
Aye.
Commissioner Dutkirk,
Aye.
Commissioner Bersheim, aye. Unanimously passes. Thanks to all of you for your work today. And we accomplished a lot, and we're into a transition phase, and really appreciate you, James, for being on board with us as our new county administrator, and want to thank all the public that had joined us as well today. With that, we'll adjourn.